the great state of Wisconsin. I won Wisconsin. First time since Dwight Eisenhower in 1952. And we won Michigan. And we won Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and South Carolina, and Florida. We ran up that East Coast. You had to run up that East Coast. Winning the Electoral College is very tough for a Republican. Much tougher than the so-called popular vote, where people vote 4 times, you know. Much tougher. Much, much tougher. We had a great victory. But think of it, not since Dwight Eisenhower, 1952. What an evening. Was that one of the great evenings? Was that one of the great evenings? And I always say, because the ratings that they're getting are beyond belief. You know, the New York Times was ready to fold. It was going to close. And then I came along, unfortunately, and they sell. But don't worry, because ultimately, when I leave in 7 years from now, of course, they'll fold. They will fold. No, when you see the Times, how dishonest they are, when you see the Washington Post, how totally dishonest, when we leave, and I actually say this, they are all doing numbers that they've, never done. When I announce they are going to endorse me, because if I lose, should I lose, or if I don't run, they're out of business. Who's going to cover? They're going to cover Bernie? Hey, they're going to cover, Sleepy Joe Biden? They're going to cover Pocahontas? Who was... Think of it. Think of it. She of the great tribal heritage. What tribe is it? Let me think about that one. Meantime, she's based her life on being a minority. Pocahontas. They always want me to apologize for saying it. And I hereby, oh no, I want to apologize. I'll use tonight. Pocahontas, I apologize to you. I apologize. To you, I apologize. To the fake Pocahontas, I won't apologize. No, it's causing her problems. You know, that name's causing, because now even the liberals are saying, take a test. Take a test. You know, I tell you, I shouldn't tell you, because I like not to give away secrets, but this one. Let's say I'm debating Pocahontas, right? I promise you I'll do this. I will take, you know those little kits they sell on television for $2? Learn your heritage. Guy says, I was born in Scotland. It turns out he was born in Puerto Rico, and that's okay. It's good. You know. Guy says, I was born in Germany. Well, he wasn't born in Germany. He was born someplace else. I'm going to get one of those little kits. And in the middle of the debate, when she proclaims that she's of Indian heritage, because her mother said she has high cheekbones. That's her only evidence, that her mother said she had high cheekbones. We will take that little kit and say, but we have to do it gently. Because we're in the Me Too generation, so we have to be very gentle. And we will very gently take that kit and we will slowly toss it, hoping it doesn't hit her and injure her arm. Even though it only weighs probably 2 ounces. And we will say, I will give you $1 million to your favorite charity, paid for by Trump, if you take the test and it shows you're an Indian, you know. And let's see what she does, right? I have a feeling she will say no, but we'll hold that for the debates. Do me a favor, keep it within this room, because I don't want to give away any secrets. And the press is very honorable. They won't. Please don't tell her what I just said. Democrats are launching outrageous attacks against our incredible law enforcement and our ICE and Border Patrol. The new platform of the Democrat Party, and by the way, I call it the Democrat Party. It sounds better rhetorically. You know, I wrote bestsellers. I guess I speak well. You know, we turned away thousands of people. They never say I'm a great speaker. Why the hell do so many people come? Why does... I don't think... It's true. Why did they come? Why? Why, oh why do they come? Gotta be something. I guess they like my policy. Maybe you like policy. No, it's true. Have you ever noticed? You never hear that. You never hear that. You never hear it. I mean, there's got to be a reason. I have broken more Elton John records. He seems to have a lot of records. And by the way, I don't have a musical instrument. I don't have a guitar or an organ. No organ. Elton has an organ. And lots of other people helping. No, we've broken a lot of records. We've broken virtually every record because, you know, look, I only need this space. They need much more room. For basketball, for hockey, for all the sports, they need a lot of room. We don't need it. We have people in that space. So we break all these records. But really, we do it without, like, the musical instruments. This is the only musical, the mouth. And hopefully the brain attached to the mouth, right? The brain, more important than the mouth, is the brain. The brain is much more important. But do you ever notice, do you ever hear something? They say, you know, we had a case last week. We were in a great place in Wisconsin. And we had a tremendous crowd. And we had, like, the choice of a 22,000-seat arena. And in retrospect, we would have packed it and they would have sent away thousands of people. But the people said to me, very innocent people, they were great. But I hadn't met them. I said, why didn't you? They filled up a 7,000-seat arena, walked away thousands of people, like over 20. And we would have filled. I said, why didn't you use the big arena? He said, sir, we knew that if you had 5 vacant seats, empty seats. See, vacant is because I was in the real estate business. I use that term. If you had 5 empty seats, they would say, Donald Trump was unable to fill the arena. And I said, you know what? You're right. How about the one from the Washington Post? They got there 4 hours early, and the arena hadn't started even letting people in. So there were just a few people. You all saw that story, I hope. You all saw that story, right? They got there 4 hours, 5 hours. This writer, sleazebag, he didn't get fired. He said Donald Trump had an empty arena. Except when I showed up, the place was packed and they had to walk away, thousands of people, right? And I didn't see the story, but you know who saw the story? The people that were in the arena, and they went nuts. And they apologized, but you know where they apologized? On Twitter. They didn't write it. They apologized, but they had the story. Donald Trump, not very good crowd tonight. And they show a totally empty arena that 4 hours later. And by the way, hate to say it, take a look at the pictures for the inauguration. We had some monster crowd. Big monster. Big monster. But take a look at that. So they show an arena before the people started coming in. There were a few people, 4 or 5 hours ahead. And they apologized. It's a disgrace. But let me just tell you, the Democrats, we call them the Democrat Party. You know why? The Democratic Party sounds too good. It sounds better, doesn't it? I always hate saying the Democrat Party. And a lot of people say you made a mistake. Well, actually, the name is the Democrat Party. The Democratic Party sounds too good, so I don't want to use it, okay? The new platform of the Democrat Party is to abolish ICE. In other words, they want to abolish immigration enforcement entirely. That's what they want to do. They want everybody coming in. And you know, the beauty with ICE, they're so tough. When you have these MS-13 thugs come in, ICE goes in and wipes them out like nothing. Because they're much tougher. They wipe them out. And they liberate towns on Long Island and other places. You know, it's like you're occupied. It's like a nation is occupying your country. So we're taking them out by the thousands. And if it weren't for ICE, we wouldn't be doing it. These are savage gangs, MS-13 and others. We will not stand for these vile Democrat smears against our law enforcement. And that includes our great police. That includes our great Border Patrol. That includes our military, where they're always fighting against funding for the military. We will always stand by proudly the heroes, and there are heroes on ICE and Border Patrol and law enforcement and our military. Every day I'm president, we will track down the gang members, drug dealers, child predators, and criminal aliens that we find. We will get them, we will throw them the hell out of our country or put them in jail. So this year, in November, if you want to save ICE, and frankly, if you want to save your law enforcement, if you want to save your military, getting military funding, we got $700 billion, the biggest ever, then next year 716. We saved our military. Getting military funding from these Democrats is almost impossible. They don't want it. They don't care about our military. They don't care about our law enforcement. They couldn't give a damn. You better vote Republican. We need more Republicans. If you want to protect your family and your community, then you have no choice. You have to vote for Matt. You have to vote for Republicans. If you want to have a country, if you want borders, how about borders? Wouldn't it be nice to have borders? And yes, we are already building the wall. It started in California and San Diego. 1.6 billion. We're asking for 5 billion. And I'll tell you what, it's brutal with these people. They don't want to. They know it's the right thing to do, but they think it will help me. It's not even the Republicans. They think it'll help Trump. If we do it, it's good for Trump. Let's not do it. They're great Americans. Every day we are keeping our promises. We've created 3.4 million jobs since Election Day, which nobody can even believe. Nobody believes it. I always say, if I would have said that on the campaign trail, when I was here or anyplace else, it would have been brutal. They would have said, how can you possibly say a thing like that? 3.4 million new jobs. Unemployment claims are at a 45-year low. African American and Hispanic American unemployment have reached the lowest levels in the history of our country. Remember, what do you have to lose? Remember? What do you have to lose? People didn't like it when I said that. What do you have to lose? Guess what? We're right. In fact, a new poll came out last week. We're up in like a week, 10 points with the Hispanic community. 10 points. Because they want to be safe. Unemployment among women is at the lowest level it's been in 65 years, and within a couple of weeks, history. Our economic policy can be summed up in 3 very simple but beautiful words: jobs, jobs, jobs. Since the election, we have lifted 3 million people off of food stamps. And by the way, on a humanitarian basis, that's a great thing. Do you know how much money we save by doing that as a country? 3 million people, and it's going up fast. Wages for the first time in 18 years are rising again. People can go out, they can actually choose a job, and they have wages that are rising. And 6 months ago, Republicans passed the biggest tax cuts in American history. The biggest in American history. Everybody in this room is benefiting. Everybody is benefiting. We slashed taxes for working families and saved our family farms. We saved family farms. As a result of our tax cuts, $300 billion poured back into the United States just in the first quarter of this year alone. And we're going to have a lot more than that. $300 billion came back. Money that would have never been able to come back into our country. It's coming back, it's pouring back. I think the number is going to be $5 trillion, but $350 billion has already come back. Apple Computer is spending $350 billion on new campuses, on new facilities. They're bringing back $350 billion. They're putting up their own money. They're going to actually have, probably subject to the tax code, about $230 billion come back. 95% of U.S. manufacturers are optimistic about the future. That's the highest number ever. Think of it, 95% of anything. You don't hear that. We also repealed, despite the thumb down at 2 o'clock in the morning, we also repealed the most horrible aspect of the failed Obamacare health care. It's called the individual mandate, so it's gone. It's gone. Gone. It's gone. And, you know, that was where you had to pay a lot of money for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health care, okay? One of the truly rip-offs. That was a big rip-off, but we got rid of it. So all of you people, how many people were you paying for not to have it? A lot of people, right? Yeah, a lot of people. A lot of people, they paid not to have health care. That doesn't work. We're allowing businesses to join forces to buy better health care for less money through association health plans. They just came out 2 weeks ago, and they cross state lines. We're allowed to cross state lines. You're going to get very low prices for very good health. Millions of people are already signing up. And after decades of waiting, we opened Anwar in Alaska for energy development. They've been trying to get that approved for 40 years. We've eliminated record numbers of job-killing regulations. We've stopped cold, the assault on our farmers, our ranchers, our hunters, energy producers, and our great and loving miners. We love our miners. And we put our miners back to work. Clean coal. We are proudly and strongly protecting our public lands for future generations. You see that. You see it all over. You see what we're doing. You see legislation. You see what's happening. We approved the Keystone and the Dakota Access Pipelines right away. 48,000 jobs. 48,000 jobs. We withdrew from the job-killing Paris Climate Accord. One of the most unfair deals. I said, boy, I'm going to get killed when I approve this one. When I sign off this, you know, it sounds so pretty, right? The Paris climate. Who wouldn't do that? Except it's horrible for us. Great for other countries, but horrible for us. We took historic action to safeguard your constitutional freedoms, protecting religious liberty, defending the Second Amendment, and confirming a record number of circuit court judges. And we are bringing back our wealth from foreign countries. You know this, right? We are bringing back our wealth from foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years. For too long, we watched and we waited and we saw as other countries stole our jobs, cheated our workers, and gutted our industry. You look at all the places here, yeah, even here. But you look at some places, you go up to New England and you still see the remnants where they moved down to Mexico under NAFTA, one of the worst deals that we're negotiating. And I have a feeling they'll come along. We'll see. And if they don't, we'll actually do better. We'll actually do better. The United States of America was the piggy bank that everybody was robbing. And let me tell you, our allies, in many cases, were worse than our enemies. We opened our country to their goods, but they put up massive barriers to keep our products and our goods the hell out of their country because they didn't want that competition. And that's not free trade, that's stupid trade. We're not going to do that. We don't do that anymore. We have to have fair and reciprocal, that being the more important word. We need reciprocal. They charge a 50% tax, we charge a 50% tax. Then we say, look, let's bring it to nothing, or I don't care, one way or the other, do whatever you want. And then I'll have people complaining. They'll say, it's incredible. So we have countries ripping us up for years. And then when I say, well, look, we're going to put tariffs on there because they have been ripping us. We have trade deficits. They have surpluses that would be unbelievable. So they have all of this. And I say, we are going to do something about it. And I'll get calls from some politicians. Oh, that's terrible. I said, no, you don't understand. We're going to make great deals. No, that's just leave it the way it is, please. Just leave it the way it is. Leave it the way it is. I said, no. We have all the cards. We're the bank that everybody's stealing from. You saw with China, $50 billion, and another $200 billion, frankly, is waiting. Nobody's ever seen this before. Because China, and I have great respect for President Xi and for China. You have to respect him, you have to admire him. Now they'll say, Donald Trump loves China. Loves China more than he loves the United States. These people. But, so you have to be careful what you say. Because if I say that, I do. I respect China and I respect President Xi. But they've been killing us. $507 billion in trade deficits last year. 507. Who the hell can lose 500? Then you want to do something about it, you get attacked. Oh, that's not nice. That's not free trade. The war was lost on trade many years ago. You know, when they were saying, not a free trade, I said, no, the war was lost. But now we're going to win it. And because we have all the cards. But it's always helpful when you don't have the little ones sniping at your heels. Because it's easier to negotiate when you have support. You don't have some senator that was forced out of office because he didn't like me saying bad things like, oh, we shouldn't be doing that against China. We shouldn't be doing that against so-and-so. We are in such a great position. Other countries are calling us. Do you know that if we knock down the trade deficit, right, the trade deficit by just a little bit, 25%, and we can do that easily. That's easy. If we do that, we pick up 1 point in GDP. Does anybody know that? That's $3 trillion, and that's 10 million jobs. That's just 25%. We pick up 1 point. And speaking of GDP, remember when I'd say it's going to go to 3% pretty quickly and all of this? Well, now the Atlanta Fed just predicted 4.8%. Now, who knows? Who knows? I can only tell you this. It's going to be a lot better than you had with Obama. And if these people got elected, you would have gone down like you've never seen anything go down. They wouldn't have taken the regulations off. They wouldn't have given you the tax cuts, the Democrats. You would have had an economy that was going to crash and burn. It was ready. And now we've got something that's a rocket ship. And every time I meet a leader of another country, which is often, they always start by saying, sir, I'd like to congratulate you on the incredible job you've done with the United States economy. It's true. Japan, South Korea. Every time they say, I'd like to congratulate you. And others they are actually studying what we've done. They're studying what we've done. But we have the greatest people in the world, and we're doing good. You know, those hats, those beautiful, beautiful hats, make America great again. Soon to be changed to keep America great. Bing, boom, right. Keep America great. Soon to be changed. I can't use make America great again for the second run, right? Doesn't sort of. They said, why the hell didn't you do it the first time, right? It's called Keep America Great, because what we're doing is incredible. It's incredible. We've created, think of this, since the election, We've created in wealth $7 trillion. 7 trillion. 7 trillion. We're the fastest growing nation on an economy basis. Maybe it's for the big nations, but I heard nation. We're the fastest growing economically nation in the world. Think of that. I add the big nation because they're probably back. I don't know. Maybe it said big nation. Whatever it is, we're doing really well. But we're one of the fastest, and I think we're actually the fastest growing. And we are certainly growing our military and growing our power and our strength. And we're taking care of our vets more than anybody's ever taken care of our vets. Thanks to Republican leadership, America is winning again. We're winning. Remember, I tell you the story. And America is being respected again all over the world. It's been a long time. We're respected. Somebody said, could you tell the winning story backstage? I said, they've heard it. But Steve Daines, great senator, comes up to me. And I say, hi, Steve. And he's going to say, sir, the people of Montana, they're really tired, sir, of all this winning. Too much. They can't take it anymore. They can't take it. We've got to slow it down, sir. They can't take it. I say, Steve, go back to the people. He's going more. Go back to the people and say, I'm sorry. I cannot honor that request. We are going to win, and we're going to win more. We are going to win like we've never won before. Like we've never won before. Because we are finally putting America first. We're putting America first. And by the way, you know, all the rhetoric you used to hear, the 1,000 points of light. What the hell was that, by the way? 1,000 points of light. What did that mean? Does anyone know? I know one thing. Make America great again, we understand. Putting America first, we understand. 1,000 points of light. I never quite got that one. I'm trying to say, what the hell is that? Has anyone ever figured that one out? And it was put out by a Republican, wasn't it? But we are indeed doing things for this country like nobody believed possible. We're rebuilding our economy. And at the same time, we are restoring our security. We have people flooding our borders like they haven't flooded ever before. They're doing an incredible job, but we've never had a rush like this. That's because people want a piece of our action. They want to come into our economy. They want to come in. Problem is, you have to come in legally. You have to come in through legal channels. Sorry. All of that money that we've secured for our military, all of that, I've directed the Pentagon to begin a process of creating a sixth branch of the United States Armed Forces called the Space Force. You have the Air Force, you will have the Space Force. You know, people are so excited by that. You know, it's not just sending rockets to the moon and rockets to Mars. This is also a military imperative. In fact, in Russia, they said we consider that very threatening. And others did too, but I'm sorry. And you know, if it's a part of the Air Force is going to focus sort of on the Air Force. We need a separate branch, and we're working on that. It's called the Space Force, which is very exciting. And people love it. People love it. They get it and they love it. We passed a landmark VA accountability law that everybody said could not be passed. I won't blame the unions and I won't blame civil service, but let's assume they had a little blame. Everyone said couldn't be passed, has not been able to be passed for 45 years, and we just got it passed, VA accountability. So now you can fire people when they don't do a job. We can fire people when they don't do it. You're fired. You get them the hell out. They're not taking care of our vets. We fire them. They're out of there. Boom. They're out of there. And the other thing that we just passed a few weeks ago And you've heard me talk about this. I always said, you know, our greatest people, they're the greatest people, the vets. They protected us. Some of them have suffered greatly. And we weren't taking proper care of them. They were waiting in line for 12 days. How about anybody in this audience, go to the doctor, say, I'm sorry, I can't see you for 12 days. Even if you have like a bad cold, you have something. People were going in with nothing much, and they were coming out 6 months later. They can't see a doctor. They were coming out with a terminal illness that could have been corrected easily. And I said, why aren't we just sending people that have to wait for these long periods, just send them across the street to a local doctor. Get taken care of. And we pay the bill. And everybody said, we've been trying to get that passed for 40 years. I got it passed 3 weeks ago. Okay? I'm good at getting things passed. Remember, we had repeal and replace passed, except for one person. And all the Democrats, I have to say. One person plus all of the Democrats. We got no Democrat about, including Tester. He wasn't there for us. President Trump is a great man. He's a great man. I really got to vote for us. Got to vote for us. We also believe that American foreign aid dollars should promote America's interests and values. We don't need to send your hard-earned money to countries that vote against the United States consistently in the United Nations and other places. We don't need to do it. Remember with Israel, remember when we had 2 votes on something having to do with Israel? I said, we're watching. With all the aid we give all these countries, we're watching. We ended up getting 68 votes. We didn't do anything. Because they're ripping us, they're taking our money, they don't even vote for us because they didn't respect our country, but now they respect them a lot more. And in many cases, they're not getting that money anymore, too. We've stopped it. Instead of apologizing for America, we are standing up for America, and we are standing up for our great American flag. Hey, how about the NFL? Look, I don't want to cause controversy. You're right, USA is right. I don't want to cause controversy, but how about they passed this stupid thing? You don't have to do this anymore. If you don't respect the flag or if you don't like the country or whatever it is, just go into the locker room. Just go into the I think in many respects, that's worse. Isn't that worse than not standing? You know? I think that's worse. So they say, go into the locker room. So, okay, the anthem's getting ready to play. They run into the locker room. Then they come back out. You know what? It doesn't play. It doesn't play. I actually think in many ways it's worse. I heard this thing that they were so happy, the owners. This commissioner, where this guy comes from, I have no idea. They're paying him $40 million a year. And their ratings are down 20%. But you know why the ratings are down? Yes, the flag. But they're also down because people find politics. In other words, hitting Trump incorrectly, but hitting Trump, they find that to be much tougher, meaner, and more interesting than watching a football game. They actually do. And they're watching the cable networks instead of watching football. They're down 20% since this whole thing started with the flag and the anthem. Washington tried to change us, but instead we are actually changing Washington. We've had a big impact. And now we need Matt Rosendale in the Senate to continue our fight to drain the swamp. We're going to get it done. We need to work every day from now until the election. For your family, for your community, your country, for your Constitution. And this November, I need you to get your friends, get your colleagues, get your neighbors, and get your ass out to vote. Is that okay? Get your ass out to vote. Vote for Matt. They're going to say, oh, that was not presidential. Watch. That was not presidential. Did I ever tell you how easy it would be for me to be presidential, you know? Like we're all, me, you, we're really smart people. I have, by the way, the most loyal people in the world. They're the smartest people. They're the toughest people. They're the greatest people in the world. But they'll say something like that's not presidential. And what I say, acting presidential is so easy. For me, would be so, it's much easier than what I do. Much easier. And sometimes I have to do it. You walk up to the microphone, right? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the great state of Montana. You have to put a little emphasis, right? This is wonderful to be with you tonight. Thank you for being here. Goodbye. Now, the people of Montana, they know. Loyal citizens like you help build this country, and together we are taking back our country, returning the power where it belongs, to the people. American ancestors crossed oceans, scaled mountains, defeated empires, and built the modern world with their own two hands. They were brilliant. This state, the state of Montana, was forged by incredible pioneer men and women who braved the cold and tamed the wilderness to build a beautiful life right out here in the open. And I did look at those skies. You know, I heard so much about your skies. I heard so much about your skies. I rode in, I looked at those skies. Not seeing pollution is a wonderful thing, right? Those are beautiful skies. These Montana pioneers were tough. And they were strong, and they were brilliant. They didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have a lot of luxury. But they had faith, they had heart, they had grit, and they had each other. They had each other. And above all else, they loved their families, they loved their country, and they loved their God. We stand on the shoulders of American patriots who knew how to fight, and they knew how to win. You talk about winning, they knew how to win. And with your help, your voice, and your vote, we are going to keep on fighting, and we are going to keep on winning. And the truth is, you will never, ever get tired of winning. Never. We won't back down. We won't give in, and we will never, ever surrender. We will never, ever quit. We go forward to victory. Because we are Americans, and our hearts bleed red, white, and blue. We are one people, we are one family, and we are one glorious nation under God. And together, we will make America wealthy again. Soon, we will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Montana. Thank you.
President Trump in Great Falls, Montana, wrapping up a rally there. Clearly, back in campaign mode, drumming up support for that state's Republican candidate for Senate, Matthew Rosendale, saying you deserve a senator who doesn't just talk like he's from Montana. The president saying you deserve a senator who actually votes like he's from Montana. The president went on to press for the midterm vote. You better vote Republican. We need more Republicans. You can right your wrong in November, said the president. In taking on the Democrat in that state, John Tester, the president said a vote for Tester is a vote for Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and the new leader of the Democratic Party, Maxine Waters. He said vote for Matt. A very optimistic President Trump there brought a crowd to their feet. At times they were chanting USA. He said Washington tried to change us and we changed Washington. Thanks to Republican leadership, the president touting America is winning. Again, all of this clearly part of the president's plan to deny Democrats control of Congress in the November elections. But behind the scenes, the White House may already be working on a contingency plan. Today, one of its most controversial cabinet members, EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, tendered his resignation. Clearly, he would have been the first target of an oversight committee run by a Democratic majority. Joining me now, Britt Hume, Fox News senior political analyst. Britt, as we watch the president depart the stage there, what a speech that was. Going on a few riffs, clearly off script there, and making some news, but sounding incredibly optimistic about his party's chances in November.
He gets more out of doing this, I think, personally, these rallies, than anybody I've seen since Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton could come exhausted at the end of a long day to a rally, and if the faithful were fired up by him, he'd get fired up too and stay and stay and stay. And that's exactly what you see Donald Trump doing. This is Trump in his element. He loves doing this. But as you suggest, Sandra, there's obviously some strategic thinking going on here. I mean, after all, he's about to nominate another justice to make another nomination to the Supreme Court, and John Tester, the sitting Montana senator, is one of the votes that the president might have some chance of picking off for his nominee. And the more pressure is on Tester out there from his Republican challenger, the better chance perhaps the president has of picking up that vote. And then, of course, we've got the Pruitt matter that you just raised, and that was kind of an amazing story that he lasted under the fire he took as long as he did, but he's gone now.
Is it perhaps a sign, the resignation of Pruitt, Britt, a sign that there is a contingency plan for this White House?
Well, I don't know. I think he lasted as long as he did because Trump liked him and thought he was doing a good job. And Pruitt's problem really was not that he didn't know the issues or that he was unqualified to deal with them. He was very well qualified to do that. His problem is that he didn't understand, Sandra, that if you're going to be as aggressive an environmental deregulator as he has been and it was intent on being, in this atmosphere, in that agency, you have to live your life in such a way that nobody can call anything into question. And he was quite careless about a lot of stuff. Some of it was quite petty, but you add it all up and it looked bad, and it never stopped. It was an endless drumbeat of these improper activities that might have been in many cases minor, but they gave off a bad smell. There's no doubt about it. And I think I think they're in a contingency plan in this sense that they don't want that guy hanging around their neck in the middle of a bunch of investigations as they're going into the fall elections.
Well, a Democrat seized on it. Leadership, Chuck Schumer, took you long enough. Still a very long way to go to fully #drain the swamp, he tweeted out. Nancy Pelosi, one down with the resignation of Pruitt. Dozens more to go until we've drained the swamp. This was the Democratic response. Do you think Democrats are making any headway with that message?
I would think, my guess would be that Democrats would rather that he stayed, frankly, because now that he's gone, the story dies down. They'll focus a lot of fire on his successor there, who's the acting guy, because he's came out of the same school of thought. But unless he's nominated in their confirmation hearings where they can pound the guy, the story may die down. I have no doubt that that's what the Trump White House is hoping for, and it may well happen.
Fascinating stuff, and all of this just days before the president is expected to announce his pick for the Supreme Court. Could even come Sunday night. So we will be watching all that. Britt Hume, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra.
Up next, the woman who scaled the Statue of Liberty in protest of President Trump tries to explain herself.
Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. And I went as high as I could.
Ben Shapiro will analyze that when we come back.
You saw that clown yesterday on the Statue of Liberty? You see the guys that went up there? I wouldn't have done it.
The only way that we're going to stop this is eventually we're all going to have to put our bodies on the line. You're going to have to be willing to do this.
Some radical leftists listening to Michael Moore and taking the fight against President Trump to new heights. A protester yesterday scaling the Statue of Liberty on Independence Day before being captured by police 89 feet in the air. She's part of the anti-Trump Rise and Resist group who were at the monument calling for the abolishment of ICE. Posting on Instagram, quote, "Rise and Resist is at the Statue of Liberty demanding Trump and the GOP hashtag abolish ICE, reunite families now, halt deportations, and end detention as a deterrent." Today, Therese Patricia Akumu pleaded not guilty at her federal court appearance. Afterwards, she addressed the press.
Michelle Obama, our beloved First Lady that I care so much about, said when they go low, we go high, and I went as high as I could.
Here with me now, Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of the DailyWire.com. Ben, 2 hours she was perched on that statue. What did you think of this stunt?
I mean, it's idiotic. They then had to evacuate the entire island because they decided to do the stunt. The real issue with the stunt is not that someone is pulling a public relations ploy in order to get media attention. People do this sort of thing all the time. The point is this actually productive for her cause? Like, let's say that you were her, you were she, and you thought that you were going to bring attention to this particular cause. Is the best way to do that to climb up on the Statue of Liberty and annoy everyone in the country on the 4th of July?
What's the answer to that question? Did she win over any supporters with this?
No, I mean, the only people who are into this are the people who already support her. But I guess that's where we are in the country at this point, is that everybody's attempting to rev up the base more than they are attempting to win over people in the middle. And that's particularly true for folks on the left who think the louder they scream, the more people they're going to win over. It seems like precisely the opposite is true. It seems the louder they scream, the more people are looking at the Trump administration and saying, well, at least they're not shutting down the Statue of Liberty on the 4th of July.
She was taking advice from Michael Moore, as you just heard him earlier. We have to, in his words, put our bodies on the line to stop Trump. Is this what the far left movement is pushing for at this point?
Well, I mean, there's no question that I think that the heart of the far left is with this particular part of the movement. The Maxine Waters shout people down in gas stations. The let's go to a restaurant and shout Christian Nielsen out of a restaurant. The let's badger Elaine Chao as she comes out of a dinner. This is where the left's heart is, and this is the real problem for the Democratic Party, because Schumer and Pelosi are sitting there saying, guys, we're alienating a huge swath of the country, and the hard left is saying, well, you have no heart, you don't have the passion. Well, when the passion is not united with the leadership of the Democratic Party, it's pretty clear who's going to lose, and it's not going to be the passion. The passion is going to win. There's a wild shift to the left that's happening thanks to this far left part of the Democratic Party. It doesn't bode well for them in future election cycles if they continue it, which I suppose is fine with me. Well,
obviously, the 28-year-old Democrat socialist brought a lot of attention to this. The Hill, a piece in The Hill this morning, progressives poised to shape agenda if Dems take back House. Is that the case?
I mean, there's no question that they believe that all of the spirit is with the Bernie Sanders left of the movement. Now, what's really fascinating is that there was sort of a gap between the intersectional left and the Bernie Sanders left. A lot of the people on the intersectional left, people who thought about identity politics and race, they said that Bernie Sanders wasn't paying enough attention to issues of race and sexual orientation and sex, that he was almost too focused on socialism. Ocasio-Cortez is doing a good job of bridging that gap because she is an intersectional candidate. Obviously, she's of minority ethnicity and she's a woman, and she's also preaching Bernie Sanders socialism, and that's why the party is seeing her as this sort of great uniting figure, even though she is as radical can be.
You know, you wonder if they risk turning off some of their own voters going this far to the left, but it is something that we're watching, and clearly the world was watching as that woman scaled the Statue of Liberty on Independence Day yesterday. Ben Shapiro, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, a live look at that cave rescue currently underway, where experts are working around the clock to save the lives of a soccer team trapped a mile underground. We will take you there next. Breaking tonight, you're looking live at Chiang Rai, Thailand, where those 12 young boys and their soccer coach, trapped in an underground cave almost a mile below ground, have been assessed by medical workers and deemed not well enough to make an escape at this hour. Rescuers there now working to not only get those boys strong enough, but also to come up with a viable escape plan as rescue efforts enter day 4. Trace Gallagher live in our West Coast newsroom with the latest on this. Trace?
Hi, Sandra. The water level inside the cave is now the primary concern. And on that note, earlier today, there was a setback when some volunteers working on their own thought they were pumping water out of the cave and instead were pumping it into the ground, forcing it back inside the cavern. Tonight, authorities on scene say the problem has been corrected and the water level is again dropping. In fact, they believe a 1-mile stretch of the cave is now drained of water completely, meaning the boys and their coach would only have to swim about a mile to safety, but that is one treacherous mile, including very narrow passageways that can only fit one person at a time. So even if each of the boys had 2 expert divers guiding them, there are still portions they would be forced to navigate on their own. Very scary when you consider that even the expert Navy divers say the water is muddy and the channels are very tricky to navigate. On top of that, there are other potential issues. Watch.
If you got tangled with the diving guideline, for example, or if your face mask got knocked aside and air rushed out and water rushed in, all of those are possibilities which would have to be overcome, either by the boys concerned or perhaps by the divers who are accompanying them.
And remember, most of the boys don't even know how to swim, and they are all in the process of learning how to use the diving gear, just in case the monsoon rains push the water levels inside the cave even higher. And the forecast is calling for heavy rain beginning on Saturday. Meantime, they continue looking at other options, including drilling a new entryway into the cave complex, which would also be very time-consuming. Some cave rescue experts say the safest way to handle this